Nice. Very good. That's
Billy
cool.
Robinson, Luthes,
All right.
UWF Snake Pit T-shirt.
The kind of baseball style, right? With the short
Yeah,
sleeves.
right, like a Lugland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I always
right.
see
Like
Minato
under.
Sensei wearing that.
Oh, the practice T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have every one of those. Every one of those.
Yeah. How's that? All right. Yeah. What a great theme song.
Yeah, I think UWF was the very first wrestling group that had the company theme song. That as soon as you hear this,
Yeah.
you just associate this whole thing with this music.
Well, what about All Japan? The NTV theme song.
That's
Yeah.
like a Nippon TV since like 1950s.
Yeah.
Like a baseball too.
Oh, so it's just the channel that uses it for the sports.
Right. Yeah, like Yomiuri Giants and Channel 4 or like Olympic or marathon and stuff
so
like
it's
that.
kind of like in Japan, it's sports day. The every
October thing. Yeah.
Elementary school and junior high school students. It's just kind of like
athletic day.
Yeah,
thing.
but
Yeah,
it's a big and a normal thing in Japanese culture, don't you think? That so that song it's not just All Japan, it's very sporty, like upbeat, genki feeling,
actually that's
marching.
Very deceiving fastest way though.
Can you elaborate?
Well, that's the start when first half the century, this country was doing a lot of wars. War against China twice, war against Russia, then war against USA of all things, and until Nagasaki and Hiroshima. First half of the 20th century is like a Japan Empire, Dai Nippon Teikoku. Yeah, and then every citizen, go into the same direction and get in the shape and you be the soldier. And seriously. Yeah, that's backward, but and the fascists won't come to your life like a fascist. They'll come to you in a very friendly manner. In the Nazi Germany, that was the coolest thing at the time for them. Yeah, the fascists will come in a very friendly, smiley fashion, and you give up your freedom voluntarily. That's how it is. See, if they come in and take away your freedoms and freedom of speech and all that, you'll fight, But they'll come into you like, this is a good thing to make our country rich. They're happy and wait a minute, country before people, its citizens, or people before country? It's like then half the people, or more, like most people say country, and see what you can do for your country. You know what I'm saying? They will come to you in a very friendly manner. That's why it's dangerous. And the athletic day is the leftover from Meiji era of that philosophy. Am I sounding like a left wing?
No, but no, it's hard. But it's hard to convey. But after you live there for a little bit, it's very light. It's not as intense as maybe some other countries who really value athletics and view athletics.
How orderly these people are, if Japanese people are told to get in line, they will get in line. Nobody cheats. You know what I'm saying?
Very. It's just honesty is a important value.
Yeah, well, of course, it's a the flip side going kind of thing. Yeah, honest and you can leave your bicycle and leave it there and then I can steal it,
Yeah, you can leave your laptop computer out the table at
Starbucks, they'll be there.
Yeah, no one will touch it, or someone will touch it, and it'll probably be the staff, and they'll take care of it.
Or tell staff, somebody left the computer here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a different feeling, but that tune, that All Japan, not All Japan, but NTV sports theme, really, I think that defines it too. Just like UWF, that theme defines that part.
Oh, definitely. And also that UWF was the very first company that had like a company theme song. Like that. See, Antonio Inoki, Pomaye, Inoki, Pomaye, right? And all the individual songs and theme song was there. But UWF, well, actually, you had Maeda, you had Takada, you had Fujiwara, a little bit later, Funaki and Minoru Suzuki. But UWF itself was the whole movement, as a package, sort of. These guys, a group of guys who will change wrestling into legitimate contest, and not just one star. But so UWF was a perfect company to have that company theme song, Yeah.
And when you listen to it too, I guess compared with the NTV theme song,
it's a march.
It's a march, but it's also, it really reminds me, it says bubble period. Really like over the top, a lot of synthesizers, a lot of high technology. It was really of the time. It was very modern and cool.
Beaming at the building, yeah.
Oh, and big time shows,
That theme still remains. That when people like Kazuo Yamazaki and those guys went back to New Japan, still use that music. Some of the shoot boxers or shuto people, or like, or even like people like Kiyoshi Tamura, who from UWF to UWFI to rings, kept that music to himself, even in the rings, and so the music is like that really reminded a lot of people in certain era.
It's hard. Maybe I don't know how to. There's nothing to compare it to exactly. It's not like ECW, but ECW was very much of that time.
Yeah, like it works like a commune.
And it could only have happened in that time in the late 90s. Like it could, it was really, it was very, there's a very 90s aspect to it. It's not like, people try to replicate it, but it's ECW was such, it was so like the 90s go hand in hand with its success and its flavor, just like UWF seemed to have, because Japan was sort of in a
late 80s into early 90s.
The bubble period.
Yeah, that too.
It sounds
and
like
also, UWF was the only company probably in wrestling history that survived without television.
I think 89,
88 even. That was
that's
New Japan and Russian and American.
Right. Hashimikov and
and then the Zangief, and Chochoshibiri, and Inoki against Chochoshibiri, the judo jacket match without ropes. That was the very first. But Tokyo Dome U Cosmos, I wrote it down. It was 89 November 89.
November, 89. That's what I thought. U Cosmos.
November U Cosmos. Yeah. Every single match was boxer against wrestler, the kickboxer against wrestler, the people like Kozlowski, the amateur gold medal wrestler, turned into professional wrestler for one time. He came to Japan and had the single match and all that things. U Cosmos.
It was, this was all before UFC was even running their first shows.
Right. UFC is more synonymous with Pancras.
Right.
Yeah, Pancras is also a spin-off from UWF to Fujiwara Gumi to Pancras. Rings just only Maeda. UWF split into 3 groups: original UWF, UWF International, Rings, Fujiwara Gumi. Those 3. Then that's 1991 January. Then year later, Fujiwara Gumi, the Funaki and Suzuki and his guys and Ken Shamrock broke off from Fujiwara Gumi and created Pancras to make legitimate contest this time. They ended up in the MMA company now,
But at first, would you say it was more UWF style, or was it more on the sports or realistic
Pancras?
side? Yeah, because
right from the beginning, it was contest. Right from the beginning, it was real contest. That's what Funaki and Minoru Suzuki thought pro wrestling should be as a kid, and pancreas from right from the beginning. That was straight from that.
And they created a lot of different styles of stars that would kind of cross over into both.
Paul yeah,
Shamrock,
Shamrock, Guy Metzger, yeah.
Maurice Smith, who was on the UWF show as well.
Right. Because Minoru Suzuki wanted to have one more match against Maurice Smith. Yeah. Then Maurice
from
Smith,
Seattle.
Yeah, Maurice Smith, kickboxing world champion, turned into an MMA fighter a little bit later on.
Yeah. He was one of the first Muay Thai style specialists to. I think he was a heavyweight as well, or light heavyweight.
Right, because he's a big guy. Yeah, big guy. Yeah.
And he was a heavyweight. He was a champion early on before UFC really blew up. But he survived a number of different eras. He was doing the UWF stuff, and he went on to do Pancrase with Suzuki and Funaki. He was doing movies. He was
sure.
And he was doing K1 too.
It changed his life, Yeah. So UWF was. What's interesting is though this what we talk about UWF, the second version of UWF only lasted 2 years and 7 months. Not that long, right? So only 31 shows altogether. 31 shows altogether. And every single event is documented in videotape. It exists.
And they were very big shows. They weren't on TV, like we said. And
no television. Then they only ran one show a month. Crazy wrestling company, huh? Only one show a month.
Almost always, yeah. They would always sell out.
Almost always, yeah.
Why was it so hot, do you think? Why was it so popular?
And including myself, that was the movement that these guys are going to change wrestling.
Wow. Could you compare it to any other moments in pro wrestling like that, or is it was it like an NWO kind of shift to try to kind of think about it from
NWO is like a bad guy faction, and UWF really was the movement. Yeah, like it was political
a change
movement.
in the thinking. Like wrestling should be like this, not that. They should be like this.
Yeah, and they did not bounce off the ropes. They didn't even have drop kicks.
They had more martial arts aspect, a lot of kicking and striking.
Altogether, they didn't even have 1, 2, 3 pinfalls. To finish the guy, you're gonna make the guy submit or knock guys out.
Points or something, a points system.
Like at the rope break, the submission's already in, and then are you gonna tap out or not? Grab the rope. Then allow five rope breaks or something like that. Yeah, during the match. Yeah,
it gave those matches a lot different rhythm than say New Japan.
And the whole logic. We believe that we are watching professional wrestling contest, and this is what it should look like if they fight for real or something. Not to say that this it was and other wrestling wasn't, because it's like almost ironic that I would be watching the rings this weekend. I'll probably go watch Onita's FMW next week.
It was a different time for pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was really starting to go outside the big two, right? Especially
because aging Inoki being politician, and Giant Baba already stepped down from the main event, and Jumbo, Tenru, traditional wrestler, they aren't going to change what they've been doing, and they were big Japanese against big Americans, Stan Hansen against Jumbo, just very traditional, another answer to what wrestling should be. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that when the UWF groups, especially in 1988, and from the second iteration of UWF,
1991, that's it.
Did it feel
not even 3 years?
Did it feel like when they came out, like this was much cooler and the other stuff was a little feeling more outdated?
Made other group outdated, and actually, see, that's another thing ironic. Deathmatch and crazy stuff will survive. New Japan was in jeopardy because all through 70s and the 80s, that they were the strong style, Bolivian Antonio Inoki, right? and aged Antonio Inoki stepped down, and then what? Riki Choshu and Fujinami. That's another very traditional pro wrestler. Then they were smart enough not to recognize UWF style as their alternative. They would be doing the traditional pro wrestling. So the people were there to kind of end up comparing these two. Are you still gonna be watching New Japan, or UWF is it? They are going to change wrestling. And up until 1988, that Antonio Inoki, aged Antonio Inoki, avoided single match against Akira Maeda. It never happened. You know what I'm saying? So leave it to people's imagination. What if Inoki and Akira Maeda had big time single match? Then would Akira Maeda conquered Inoki and his kingdom? But that never happened,
Maeda went on to he just kind of went farther away from the New Japan because there was the incident in '86 we talked about.
87,
excuse me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his out of that kind of style of pro wrestling. He never really went back to doing that New Japan style, more traditional pro wrestling style.
He never did.
He actually went more towards what became MMA.
At the end of the day, yes.
At the end, he was pretty close to the edge.
Yeah, because that toe kyok, striking and submission and suplexing, and so striking and submissions.
But looking back on it, especially now, gosh, like 30 years later, a lot of the techniques and the strategies and the logic behind what they were doing, it doesn't look too. It looks kind of like what's happening today and just general MMA.
Not too far.
Yeah.